podcasting, the latest frontier. These are the episodes of a Catch as Catch Can podcast. Its continuing mission: to explore strange, nerdy topics, to chat about sports, movies, sci-fi, and so much more. To boldly pod where this nerd has gone before. Captain's log, pod date 1006.19. On this episode of Too Boldly Pod, it's kind of hard to explain what we're going to get into because there's so many little things that I've been putting off that I wanted to discuss. So we're just going to have this as a mishmash of topics on this episode. So we're going to discuss the Matt Groening animated show Disenchantment. We're going to quickly cover the second trailer release for the upcoming CBS All Access show Picard. I pose a question to everybody out there: whether we have become a negative society, or have we always been a negative society? And we're going to take a look at what's in the news. So, Scotty, set phasers on stun, engage. Now, most of you know that I am a huge fan of Matt Groening animated shows. The Simpsons, of course, started everything off, and everybody knows that one of my favorite shows of all time is Futurama, which was another animated show created by Matt Groening. And last year, he debuted a new animated show on Netflix called Disenchantment. Now, the second season, or part 2 as they're calling it, dropped on Netflix a few weeks ago. And I have spent the last few days watching or rewatching the first part, season 1, and taking in part 2, season 2. So I'm not going to sit here and go episode by episode giving my opinion / critique of each episode. As a matter of fact, I'm really not going to talk that much about Disenchantment, because here's the thing. I mean, I belong to a Futurama fan page on Facebook, and it really kind of dawns on me that people that are fans of one show or movie or book that was created by one person automatically is in love with another one created by the same person. And it's like that with a lot of things. I mean, it's not just the Simpsons, Futurama, and Disenchantment. I also belong to a few Trek groups on Facebook, and people are predominantly the same way with Star Trek series, save there's a little bit of angst with Discovery, but we can talk about that some other time. And I belong to a couple of Mystery Science Theater / Riff Trek groups, and people seem to, no matter what they release, automatically love it. So here's my statement / question / head scratcher / wonder / things to make you go, could I take that transition any further? I don't know. Anyways, do we automatically accept, love, and enjoy something that was created by someone that created something previously that we loved or enjoyed? Because I'm going to be frank here. I've watched Disenchantment, the first part, twice now, and the second part once, and I enjoy it. It's okay. but I'm not totally in love with it. I don't think it's as great as Futurama is. And full disclosure that I like The Simpsons, but I don't love The Simpsons like I love the show Futurama. Now, here's the thing with it, and maybe it kind of goes hand in hand with my love of Star Trek, because much like Star Trek and Mystery Science Theater for that matter, Futurama is a show that I can constantly watch and rewatch and always pick out something I may have forgotten about or something new that I haven't seen. And is that the allure that shows you really love, or even music or books or whatever that you really love? Is that the allure that draws people to things that they love? Because I'm really not getting that with just Disenchantment. And again, like I said, it's a fine show. It's okay. But I wouldn't say I was in love with it. If I was to sit down right now and rank the 3 Matt Groening programs, it would be Futurama, The Simpsons, and Disenchantment. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's not for me. If you enjoy Matt Groening shows and haven't watched Disenchantment yet, I implore you to do so. And you can let me know what you think on Facebook or Twitter at Too Boldly Pod. As you know, I ask questions on social media to all my friends, and they're genuinely harmless little fun questions that I use here on this podcast and on this podcast. And this week I asked a couple, so we're going to kind of break up the To Boldly Pod question segment into 2 parts. Now, this past week, the beginning of October, for most parts, at least here in America, I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but hunting season, bow season started, and I'm not a hunter. I am not adverse to hunting. I grew up in a family of hunters. It's just really never been my thing, and that's okay because we all have things that we love. But I wanted to ask my friends on social media that are hunters, with hunting season starting, what do you prefer, bow hunting or rifle hunting? And I got quite a few responses, and they are all unanimously in favor of bow hunting. So I guess my question to those of you that answered out there is, why do you prefer bow hunting over rifle hunting? Is it more of a sport? Is it more difficult to do bow hunting as opposed to rifle hunting? Because, again, I don't know. I'm not a hunter, so, well, unless you count ghost hunting, then I'm a hunter, but I don't use neither a bow or a rifle when I ghost hunt. But, hey, I'd be interested to find out, because it's just one of those things that I'm interested in learning the psychology behind people's decisions as to why they prefer one type of hunting over another. If you're a hunter and you'd like to come on here and let me know on Facebook or Twitter at Too Boldly Pod.
Would you like to finish it, Captain?
I don't know how.
That is not true, sir.
Oh, it's all right, number one. I came here to find safety. But one is never safe from the past.
Please, sir, someone's after me.
I have an appointment?
Your name, please, sir?
Picard, P-I-C-A-R-D.
It's nice to see you up and around again.
We have an obligation to investigate.
There is no we, Jean-Luc.
Admiral, I am standing up for the Federation, for what it should still represent.
This is no longer your house, Jean-Luc. Go home.
I have to help her.
You really want to go back out into the cold?
More than ever. I have a plan.
Another top secret, unauthorized rescue mission.
This is everything that ever mattered to me.
I'm going with you.
I need your skill and your courage. The past is written. But we are left to write the future.
Hold on.
She was sent for a reason.
I'll get the information we need.
I help people who have no one else to help them.
Dad!
What?
Come out here!
Stop yelling!
It's Jean-Luc Picard!
Hello, Will.
Jean-Luc.
We all have a story, just waiting to be claimed. Thank you for not trying to talk me out of all this.
Believe me, I know better.
And that, of course, was the second trailer of the upcoming program Picard on CBS All Access. And there's a lot to digest in it. And it just makes fans of Star Trek like me really, really anxious for January 23rd when the program finally debuts. Now, what you get in that trailer is, well, if you're a fan of Star Trek The Next Generation, you're going to be very pleased because it appears that not only will Data reappear in this program at some point, at least as a guest in a episode, but you're also going to get Riker and Deanna Troi. So, and, mix in a little Voyager crossover with 7 of 9. So what does that make you think about this upcoming program? Now, to me, I'm sort of looking forward to the nod to the past and a look to the future, not only with, Picard, but, the members of the Next Generation that appear and 7 of 9 as well. And the both trailers that have been released now are very updated science fiction in appearance. And what I mean by that is there appears to be a whole lot more action / special effects as opposed to the old style Star Trek build science fiction around the story. And that's not to say there's not a story involved, but if you remember even the Next Generation and the original series, they were really story-based episodes over, say, the effects and the visual aspect that you're sort of given and is popular today. And I'm really looking forward to how they sort of mesh the two together. And we've talked previously on this podcast about Star Trek Discovery and how it's not a favorite of mine, though I don't dislike it. It's just maybe I am somebody that prefers the old style of Star Trek storytelling, so I prefer the older episodes to the new shows, and I'm hoping that Picard will sort of blend the two together because I'm really looking forward to this. And maybe it's because it's bringing back some of the old characters that is making me long to see it so much. But I don't know. I'm really fascinated with the first two trailers that have been released. And am really looking forward to the debut January 23rd, 2020. And January is obviously going to be a busy month for this podcast because not only is Picard debuting in January of 2020, but reports out of the BBC that the new season of Doctor Who will be starting in January of 2020. So get your sci-fi ready for the beginning of the year here on this podcast. If you have any thoughts about the latest trailer or the series Picard in general, let me know on Facebook or Twitter at Too Boldly Pod. Now, part 2 of this week's Too Boldly Pod question goes totally away from part 1, which was the hunting question earlier. And this one was a fun one that I had from about a week or so ago. And September 25th was National One Hit Wonder Day in music. So I thought I'd ask people, what is the first one-hit wonder that comes to mind? So it's not really what's your favorite, but when I say name a one-hit wonder, what's the first one that comes to mind? And we got a lot of great answers on this one. Jeffrey replied, Split Ends, I Got You. Noted author Paul Canellis got I Melt With You. My buddy Rob replied, Electric Avenue. Jim replied, That Thing You Do by The Wonders. Kate replied, Both The Promise and Mary's Prayer sprung into my head at the same time. Mark replied, Although I do not consider them one-hit wonders, Cumbersome by 7 Mary 3 popped into my head. Rob replied, I Ran by The Flock of Seagulls. Larry replied, There are so many. The first one that comes to mind is Come On Eileen by Dexy's Midnight Runners. Tim replied, Mickey by Tony Basil and 99 Luft Balloons, to which I said, kudos to you for saying 99 Luft Balloons, because Music Nerd Alert, that was actually the hit here in America, not 99 Red Balloons. That was the B-side of the single. Kelly replied, Puttin' on the Ritz. Dave replied, Jim Weaver and Spirit in the Sky. Tony replied, Whip It real good. Amy replied, No Rain by Blind Melon. And Dennis replied, Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum. And see, that's sort of the reason that I ask these questions, not just to include them here on this podcast, because that's something that's sorely missing in social media these days. And it's just, I do these to elicit fun conversation. And it just seems that people can't, especially with the political climate these days, people can't have fun, emotionless, I guess emotionless isn't the right phrase, but honest, non-harmful, non-attacking interaction. And that's really the way it should be, folks, because getting off my high horse here, that's what makes the world go around. Keep talking, and I'll keep asking questions. If you have a one-hit wonder that popped into your head, let me know on Facebook or Twitter at Too Boldly Pod. Now, at the end of that last segment, I said I was going to get off my high horse, but I'm really not, because the entire theme, outside of a few things on this entire podcast, is something that really makes me think almost daily when I look at social media or watch the news or just interact with people in general in my day-to-day life. And are we a negative society as a whole, or is that just something that is recent? Because I really don't know. Are we an angry society? Are we not a happy society? That's a question that I pose each and I realize that we all have bad days and get mad at things, and that's just human nature. That's part of life. But it just seems that nobody can, A, allow somebody else to have an opposing opinion without being nasty and attacking them, and B, it just seems like everything is always skewed towards the negative. And one of the reasons that really made me think of it recently is I noticed, you get these little pop-up ads on your timeline on social media, whether it be Twitter or Facebook or whatnot. And a lot of these articles are the, 10 insert topic worst whatever, like 10 worst songs of the 80s or 10 worst sci-fi shows of all time, something like that. It's never the 10 best of anything. It always skews towards the negative. And I know the simple reply that a lot of people my age will say is it's a millennial thing. They're always so negative. Well, that's not it, because politically speaking on social media, it's not necessarily all the millennials that are being so negative. It's people my age and older. So it's a whole societal thing that seems to be so negative, and I just don't get it. And I know regular listeners to this podcast will say, well, you always end off this podcast with a negative in the news story. But you know what? I do that to sort of shed a little bit of humor and light, if you will, into a dark situation. And again, I'm not saying that I am completely free and clear of being negative whatsoever, because plenty of times I can be the cup half empty as opposed to the cup half full. I just curious out there whether I'm the only one that thinks that our society as a whole is a negative, and maybe I'm seeing things through historical rose-colored glasses and thinking that we used to be a lot more positive, but I totally could be wrong. If you have any thoughts, let me know on Facebook or Twitter at Too Boldly Pod, and positively. See what I did there? Wah, wah, wah. I'll be here all week. Try the veal. Let me know your answer or what you think, and maybe you can tell me I'm totally off base on it. Now, let's negatively take a look at what's in the news. See what I did there? And in the news this week, and this comes from my buddy Dave via the Daily Mail, and the headline is, Woman, 38, wearing a bag of meth as a hair bow, is pulled over by a cop for a traffic stop. And this is going to be a fun one. An Arkansas woman has been arrested after cops found a bag of methamphetamines dressed up as a bow in her hair. The police pulled over the woman and found the drug-inspired hairpiece on September 24th. The 38-year-old woman was initially pulled over because of an expired registration at around 6:40 p.m. The woman told the police officer that her driver's license was suspended when asked to provide ID, the Baxter Bulletin reported. She also told the officer that she did not have car insurance and did not know where the registration for the borrowed car was. While at the scene, the officer learned that the young lady had 5 valid warrants out for her arrest in 4 different Arkansas counties. That's when he noticed the peculiar-looking bow clipped into her hair. According to an affidavit shared by the Baxter Bulletin, the officer found the small bag of methamphetamines fashioned like a bow on the side of her head. He had stated, "As I was detaining the young lady, I observed what appeared to be a bow in her hair. The bow appeared to be a small zip-locked bag containing white crystal-like substance of suspected methamphetamines. The baggie had a small rubber band around the middle, giving the bow shape, and was attached with a bobby pin. The substance was affixed to the right side of her head and attached to her hair." In his affidavit, he claimed, "Are you serious? You have a bow in your hair made from a bag of meth." The woman reportedly cursed and tried to explain away her accessory. She claimed, "I didn't know it was there. Somebody else put that there, and I don't know what it was." She begged the officer not to tow the car, but after promising not to tow the car away, the officer was allowed to search for other hidden items. In total, the woman was found with multiple bags of meth and drug paraphernalia that included a vape pipe pen filled with THC. Needless to say, she's spending her weekend behind bars. Now, this is why I do these, because it's a negative story with sort of a humorous little dumb criminal twist to it. And my previous segment is kind of why I do these, is I want to shed a little light, have a little fun. I'm sure it's not light and fun for the woman, but you know what? The hell is wrong with mankind? And that wraps up this little mishmash episode of Too Boldly Pod. I hope you enjoyed it. Coming up on our next episode, we're going to have our Too Boldly Pod Halloween special podcast, which contains a bunch of great ghost experiences and stories related to you by some of our listeners and friends of mine. If you have a ghost story that you'd like to share, I can include it on that episode. Let me know on Facebook or Twitter at Too Boldly Pod. And as usual, I don't have a closer to this show, so I will just give you a quote from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. "Nothing travels faster than the speed of light, with the possible exception of bad news, which obeys its own special laws." Have a good day, everybody. I'll talk to you next time.
WLLP Spock Rock Radio.